Split Tube Media and the Cinesthesia podcast present a special daily October podcast. Help to the king.
Jason, have you read Stephen King's books? Have you read Stephen King's books? King movie, a Stephen King movie. King movie, a Stephen King movie. King movie, a Stephen King movie.
I have done my best to scare the shit out of you guys.
I had some joke I was going to start with tonight, but I can't remember what it is, so fuck it.
Who cares?
Who cares about anything anymore?
I have a question I wanted to start this one with.
You should ask me that question.
We are not watching all of the Stephen King films.
Correct.
But you did choose to have us watch this film. Is it because you hate me?
I remember what I was going to say, and it
Is it that I did something to upset you? Is that what you were going to say?
It goes well with that question, which is that when I made this list,
Yes.
I did not know that the Tommyknockers was a 1,500-hour TV movie.
It is.
Or rather, a miniseries.
It's a full season of a terrible TV show.
I thought it was a relatively normal-lengthed TV movie that would just kind of be there. I thought the only other TV miniseries we were going to do was The Shining.
Right.
And so this is not in there.
And The Shining is going to be 4.5 to 6 hours, depending on how many of the commercials you watch. But it's going to be worth it, because I feel like that's a thing that we should, even as a person who isn't watching every single Stephen King movie he can find, I feel like that's a thing that's worth understanding.
Yeah.
Culturally,
and like
The
seeing
Shinings.
what he wanted to do differently.
Yeah.
Or like how he sees this thing that's become such a huge cultural touchstone.
Yeah, exactly.
But out of his control.
But the Tommyknockers, Jason, there's no cultural import to this.
Well, you say that.
I do. I just said it. I just said it right now. I'll say it again if you want me to.
But did you notice that this is a TV
Jason,
movie?
There's no cultural import to this film.
Did you notice that this is a TV movie in which
Yes.
Tracy Lords plays...
Yes. Okay. No, that's true.
plays
you have a good
a
point.
woman who vaporizes two policemen with a lipstick.
Yeah, no, that's true. There are definitely... So, Jason, this movie is way too long
It's so...
for what it is.
It's so long.
But there are 10 good things in it, right?
Yeah.
There are some bits. If this movie were 33 minutes in total, and Jimmy Smits were a little bit sweatier, it would be a great 33 minutes.
We're knocking Tommies here today.
Yeah.
We're
gonna knock the Tommies
on Hell to the
straight out
King.
of this. Straight out of this film.
We're talking about the 1990. Oh my God! Everything just disappeared. What happened?
Who cares? 95.
Something.
It's co-produced and written, Jason, by fake Larry Cohen.
I know. Yeah.
Coming back around.
The 1993 TV miniseries
Get us.
of the Tommyknockers. That I probably shouldn't have put on our list, but I did. So here we are.
And we watched it.
I feel like we're back in Cujo territory a little bit.
Which, Jason, the first half of this movie ends with a lady saying, "He's acting like a regular Cujo." At which point, I was like, this whole film are acting like a regular Cujo.
It's true, Joe.
Yeah. Ooh, Joe.
So I mean that both in that this is a very bad movie, but also in that you can kind of squint, or at least this was my argument about Cujo. You could squint and see this movie even with like roughly the same script, with some judicious edits, being good if the director knew how to like create genuine human interactions with the actors.
No, I'll get on board with that, because if this were 90 minutes long, it would already just be stronger.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trying to fill 3 hours in this movie.
Yes.
But fundamentally, Jason, this is a movie about a lady in a small town finds some weird buried architecture in the woods and starts digging it up, and everyone in town starts having this green mystic glow and inventing machines that are like the Pee Wee Herman breakfast machine. They're all inventing these super wackadoo goofball machines that do inane things, using, like, it'll be like 2 steam irons underneath tennis balls blowing them up in the air, and that wobbles back and forth and makes a bunch of corn bounce around on a pan, and that type's of story. You know, it's super wacky, charming machines, and those are super delightful, and I could watch more of that. That's a thing that is happening consistently in this film, but I don't feel like we ever spend time with, but that's delightful. And as you said, Tracy Lords, just kind of being there is really delightful, and being the murderous maniac in the town who makes a lipstick gun, which is sort of... So everyone's making these weird machines based on this green energy, except for one kid who invents a magic trick that makes things just completely disappear, which is the only thing that doesn't... It sort of steps outside of the logic of all of the other things that are happening, because the rest are based on simple mechanics.
Right.
And his is disappearing things, but then Tracy Lords also finds this disappearing aspect. So then there are no rules.
Well, it's like
Jimmy Smits is a drunk poet with a metal plate in his hand.
A drunk poet named Guard.
Named Guard, yeah.
It's sort of it's like the wackadoo element of it is the overall influence of this thing that's happening.
Yeah.
But then within that, it's almost like that's a cover for these select specific things that, you know, the thing causing the influence wants to have happen, which is these things to disappear and these people to go where they are supposed to go.
Yeah. And it's sort of allowing for people to feel like it's helping them in a way.
Which I kind of like as just a core idea. I kind of like that, here's this weird alien force and it's going to make everybody just go crazy, but not in altogether terrible way. Just like
for the most part,
everybody's getting weird, everybody's getting a little off, and then underneath that, there's a few things that are like, oh wait, no, that's not good.
Yeah, that's very dark. Yeah.
You maybe wouldn't even notice it because people are making a flying dog collar.
Yeah, exactly. But then there's Jason, right at the beginning of the movie, a bunch of children go on a tour of the police station, and there's a room in the police station that is 40 feet long and 20 feet wide, and just full of one of the police officers' doll collection. What world is that from? That's a completely insane... And then the dolls start freaking out the kids, and then later they come to life in one scene for no reason. There's one scene in this movie, Jason, that was directed by Charles Band, and I didn't understand where it was coming from. Super bizarre. But there's also, there's one scene that's in a vet's office, and it's flashing around the vet's office, and everyone's freaking out, but, like, a kid has a pet owl, someone has a pet cobra, and someone has a Komodo dragon. There's an underlying...
Why don't you get your dog out of here?
To this whole town. Yeah, says the kid with an owl, right? And you're like, why don't you let your creature exist in the wild? It's not real.
No, there is this... because the whole dolls thing...
Yeah.
Like, it's not... It was not clear to me. Maybe it was clear to you or to other people who watched this. But it seemed like maybe the doll's ability to come to life predated all of the events of the film.
Yeah, because they do that at the beginning.
Yeah. And then she talks to them as if that happens.
As though they're alive.
She's like, one of you better talk to me.
Which feels to me like one of those things that in the novel maybe... It's a thing he sort of spends a little bit of time with, and then the movie... It's like in The Shining, where Danny's psychic ability has nothing to do with what's going on.
Right.
I feel like it's a separate... They're like, also, she has this collection of dolls. Some of them are alive.
Or at least, one of those things that he throws in to make, suggestions of a larger world.
Yeah, exactly. It's not part of this particular story, but it is part of the world of this story, that one of the police officers has an enormous collection of alive dolls in the police station.
Yeah. Now I don't know if that's in the book.
That's what it is in the movie.
It seems like, yeah. But it could just be something like it could be Lawrence D. Cohen trying to channel that aspect of things,
and just being a crazy person.
I guess, yeah. Because they also throw in what is it? Oh, there's that other sheriff who's visiting from Derry, and Derry is the town
one that she's in love with. Yeah. Oh, right.
Which Lawrence D. Cohen also
Derry,
wrote, I think.
Right. That makes sense.
He's trying to make his own little King universe on ABC television.
Yeah, his Larry Cohen universe. When everyone starts getting affected by we find out in the last 15 minutes that they're aliens inside of these cubes, and that they're trying to harness people's energy like the Matrix.
Yeah.
But when everyone starts getting affected, they all become psychics, Jason, and they, they start inventing things and making each other disappear. And for me, the saddest part of that whole sequence is when Barney Applegate, the main kid's best friend, loses his glasses. He doesn't lose them; he doesn't have to wear them anymore because he's this dorky kid with a bowl cut and giant comedy glasses. Yeah. And then suddenly he doesn't have giant comedy glasses anymore, and it's really disappointing. My favorite line in the movie, it's a low-key line, I think, but I think my favorite is right at the beginning, when the dad of the kid that disappears is just super chill and weirdo the whole movie. From way before anything starts happening. Yes. His attitude towards everything is relaxed and off-kilter. And the opening of this film is like a live-action Unloving Bob's Burgers, where they're all in the restaurant that he runs, and the kids are running around, and the kids, I don't remember what they say. They say something about, they're like, Gramps said that we could do this, and he yells, Gramps doesn't pay the bills around here. And I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, laid back is not the way I describe him exactly.
Well, I guess I mean laid back in that when his children disappear, he's like, well, the police are doing all that they can do.
Yeah, I think he's just a man who hates his children.
Sure, yeah, that's fair.
And maybe just his entire family.
Yeah.
That guy was all of his performance choices were strange.
Yeah.
From the get. Fun quiz trivia fact.
Yeah. Quiz trivia made
this is fact. We've had a number of repeat
36.
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
We've had a number of repeat directors. Some that are coming up that we were like surprised to find out that we were reading about, and some like yesterday when we were like, George Romero, what?
Yeah.
This one is the secret sort of return of Louis Teague.
Is it?
Because he was the original director hired to shoot this and then got fired after like 4 days and replaced with whoever did direct it.
Interesting. So he set the terrible, terrible tone.
I don't know. Maybe just having the director fired set the tone.
Sure.
But I mean, even if he made
it to production, he made a lot of decisions.
Yeah. That is true. 2 days of filming, according to the...
Good for him. I wonder which 2 days.
I think basically he just got a free flight to New Zealand.
Seems all right. Do you think he hung out? Do you think he must have had a flight back at the end of the shooting days? Do you think he left the plane ticket the same and just like hung out in a field, drank some tea?
Just showing up as a Tommyknocker like Richard Stanley on the island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah, just rolled around.
Just putting on some makeup and hanging out on set.
Yeah.
So this is also the other reason we're in Cujo territory. Is because I believe this is the other book that he doesn't remember writing.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
And the one that he explicitly disowns afterwards.
This movie it feels like you're falling down a hill. It feels like it just the further the movie goes, the less any of it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you're just being hurled away from. It's like he has a log line and then he's trips and falls off of a cliff over it.
Yeah. And the movie diverges from the book in that the book ends a lot bleaker in that like almost everybody dies and everybody who doesn't die just gets scooped up by the shop to be studied.
I don't know if that's bleaker. I think that might be a correct ending.
I mean, sure, it might be correct, but, you know.
I mean, I don't know that it's positive to let all these people run loose, is all I'm saying. The main cop, the one who's visiting from Derry, I guess, throughout the whole movie drinks a soda named Cola Cool. Which I was pretty into. If I liked cola, I would seek that out. Find me some Cola Cool.
Yeah, it would make you cool.
It does feel like... It feels, Jason, like this movie is... Or this story, I guess, is what is it? The color from space, the color out of space, or Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It just feels like this is Stephen King not trying at all, which is, it makes sense to me that it's one that he doesn't remember, because it feels like this is one that was written with zero thought.
Yeah, this is the last book he wrote, the last novel he wrote before getting clean, I think. Mm-hmm. And when he talks about it, he's like, you know, it's a 200-page idea that I wrote for 700 pages because cocaine.
I like that he thinks it's a 200-page idea.
Well, as a novel for him, like that's fairly short.
No, for him, and that's what I'm not. I mean that, like, I like that for Stephen King, this is a 200-page idea.
Yeah,
because this is for anyone else a 7-page idea. This is our second Jason killer soda machine is in this film.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
good catch.
It grabs the cop's arm and explodes.
I was really focused on the killer lipstick.
Yeah,
killer soda machine's pretty crucial.
Understandable. Yeah.
This also had this is continuing the runner of genuinely terrible and boring films still having at least one thing that affects me deeply. Because they make a little boy disappear.
Yes.
And it's not until way towards the end that there's even a hint that he's going to come back.
Yeah.
And that like just conceptually being at a big kids party and then having one of your children put the other child in a box and then they take the thing off and he never comes back. Like, that's maybe the most disturbing conceptual thing.
That's a real nightmare.
We've hit in any of these movies. So, like,
if that was minute one of this movie, and then the rest of the movie dealt with that, it would be a good movie that isn't this movie at all.
Oh yeah, 100%. Instead, you have to wait almost to the end of the first hour and a half to get to that scene. And by that time, I was so numbed out that it took me a minute to understand what was happening. And then once I did, it was like all of the sanity in my brain melted into my eyes, which just started bleeding tears.
It doesn't help, Jason, that everyone is such a dick to that kid who's trying to do magic tricks.
So much.
Because they all... It's his big finale magic trick, and they all just get up and leave in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Because he's making things disappear and then reappear, and he does a couple of small things, and then he makes a kid disappear, and everyone's like, cool, whatever, and gets up and leaves.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, aren't you going to wait for him to reappear? That he's in the middle of his finale.
Yeah.
They'll just storm out.
That kid gets a raw deal from minute one.
In earlier, when he's doing legitimate sort of illusions, he in his classroom, he has a trick that's called the black and white rabbit, or maybe the white and black rabbit, where he puts a white rabbit underneath a box and like does a little magic thing, and then makes his teacher come over and flip a switch, and it blasts black powder all over his face and turns him completely black. And the whole class is like, meh. And that's really funny. Yeah. That's a great magic trick.
No, I mean, that kid is a hero. And
yeah. I was real mad that no one else thought it was as good as I did. Because even if it wasn't... Because he sets it up like he's on the black and white rabbit, and you're like, oh, then I know exactly what's going to happen. And then he subverts it and blasts black powder all over a guy's face. But even if it weren't clever in that way, if you're in third grade and someone shoots powder all over your teacher, you're going to either be horrified or think it's hilarious, depending on your personality. And all the kids just no-sell him entirely. I was real mad. Anyway, that's what
I cared very much. But both of those kids at different points in time gave me heart pain, and it offends me that this series has made me go through those kinds of feelings for some of the worst movies I've ever seen, which almost makes them worse because you're not expecting anything to affect you.
Yeah, because you're so bored, and then they're like,
so you're just kind of like an open wound.
Yeah.
So.
I have two plot questions that I don't know if you or anyone in the world, including Lawrence Cohen, can answer.
I will answer them confidently
So this movie, so Jimmy Smits is a drunk alcoholic with a metal plate in his head, and that metal plate acts like a tinfoil hat, right, the whole time. The aliens can't get him.
Just a super funny idea.
Yeah, it's ridiculous and charming. That's a good bit.
And made me want to see the Tommyknockers redone with the cast of The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Oh,
and putting the mom in the role of guard.
Putting the mom in the role of Jimmy Smits. Yeah. Where would you put Artie, the world's strongest man?
Ooh, good question.
I would put him as the grandfather.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Because he's the only adult that believes. Which Pete is Tracy Lords?
No, Tracy Lords is Michael Stipe guest starring.
Correct answer. But current day big beard Michael Stipe.
Oh, yeah.
We're not making this in the 90s. What are we, time travelers? Get over it, audience. I'm assuming they're the ones who made that mistake, not me.
Yeah.
So at the end of the movie, they go, like 10 minutes from the end, they go into this alien ship, and it turns out it's a ship full of aliens. Terrible-looking aliens. And they are harnessing the people's power to steal their energy so they can exist. I don't know, who cares?
Yeah.
But one of them, Jimmy Smits, alcoholic poet, and Bobby, his love interest,
his lover,
who writes romance novels, which feels like, again, it's the same character from The Dark Half and from Misery, but kind of split into two people, right?
Are they romance novels? I thought they were westerns.
Oh,
maybe they're western romances? Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Sorry.
She writes some kind of pap that Stephen King doesn't care about.
Yeah.
Because at some point she makes a machine that can type on a typewriter and writes her best book.
Yeah, but that he's also...
what she writes is garbage.
That he's also using as a stand-in for his own work.
Yeah.
Much as in Misery, because the telepathic typewriter is obviously his cocaine.
Yeah, and in this scenario, Jimmy Smits is also him, because Jimmy Smits is the aspirational part that wants to make the other things that James Caan also wants to make until he's disabused of that. But he can't. He's written one book of good poetry and can't get anything else out because of his alcoholism. Just if we're gonna, I didn't mean to throw in the King read on there, but I did.
It just look, they come for you.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to avoid them. But they're in love, and she is the most into the aliens, and he's the least into the aliens. And then they go into the alien ship, and he's convinced her that he wants to be an alien lover. And in the ship, she's like, wait, no, you're not. Oh, what's the changed? You're not changed, or whatever. I think it's funnier than that, the word they used. This is, Jason, another one where the engines come into play.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, big engine forest.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But so they get into this thing, and one of the aliens shows up and starts chasing them around, and Jimmy Smits chops its head off, and then Bobby, his lover, is fine. That saves her. But everyone else is still under alien control, and I didn't understand why. Why?
So the reason why is because of her proximity to the alien that is the one, well, not the one necessarily, but is part of whatever this group cabal of aliens is that's causing this psychic interference. So when Jimmy Smits chops its head off, that is an insanely traumatic event to its body and mind. And the feedback loop created by that, because she's so close, it basically, it's like two sine waves canceling each other out.
Oh, okay. It's like a sine and a cosine.
Yeah, sine and a cosine. That's what I meant. So it hits her changed brain, and her changed brain waves hit it, and then they just like flatline and reset, and then she's fine.
Thank you. Now I like the movie.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks, Jason.
What else can I solve?
There's one other. Jimmy Smits then straps himself into a chair in the ship that just gives him control over the whole ship.
Yeah.
Which is, sure, that's the control system, but it also lets him just explode aliens if they're running towards him by squinting at them, and that I also didn't understand.
Well, so the aliens are using a particular type of technology that's like, it's mechanical and organic. It's orgomechanical.
Oh,
and so
okay.
They're part of the ship. The ship's part of them. That's there's this intertwining of alien being an alien ship. And so when Jimmy Smits hooks in, he's willingly hooking in, and so he's able to telepathically control everything. But because of his metal plate, it can't get back in to control him. So he basically, that's the one place that he'll be the most powerful, and he's in all of them all at once and can do whatever he wants to them.
I see. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it makes sense because that's how it is.
Yeah, no. And I feel like I saw Orga Mechanical written on something in the background in the ship, and I just didn't put it together.
Orga Mechanical Incorporated, yeah. It's like stamped on a crate.
Yeah, they built the stuff.
It was right next to the gasohol tank.
Oh, right. I just need to pay more attention.
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Do you have any other Tommies to knock around?
No, man. That is 3 hours of knocking Tommies, and that's all the thoughts I had the whole time.
Right, like there's just not that much in the movie.
No.
Yeah, I got nothing else on this one, man. This is some tepid bathwater.
It is exactly that. There's nothing to be excited about or get mad about, really.
So one of the reasons I did pick this movie, I didn't just pick it out of a hat. Like, it wasn't just, it was on the list of Stephen King movies, and I didn't realize it was that long, but it also was on my short list in my head of things we should watch.
Well, it's one that I had heard of.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of their thing. Yeah, right? And I feel like most people are somehow familiar with it. And I think it feeds to my conception of Stephen King movies going in, which I think in large part was based on the fact that it and the Tommyknockers and that kind of stuff was what was on TV all the time when we were growing up. So it's like, oh, that's what Stephen King is.
Yeah. In my memory, from childhood, it's predicated on this concept that the Tommyknockers are coming for you. They're like, ooh, they're coming. The Tommyknockers are coming. But they're not. That's not how the movie works. The Tommyknockers are buried underground for 2 hours and 45 minutes until someone goes and invades their home. The Tommyknockers are just giving people powers to do things with. They're not even... if they're even... Also, everyone calls them Tommyknockers. Why do they call them Tommyknockers? It's apparently based on some kind of old thing Stephen King heard someone say in the 50s, but it doesn't make any sense. It's like a weird old dumb rhyme.
Tommyknocker, knocking off your tummies. You never get away from them unless you get salami. You put it in a trap and it snaps on their head, and then they'll never wake up because your Tommy knock 'em dead.
Yeah, it's an old poem
that those aliens are the Tommyknocker mans.
Yeah. Late last night and the night before, Tommyknockers, knocking at the door.
Yeah, which
I want to go out, don't know if I can, because I'm so afraid of the Tommyknocker man. The poem itself doesn't even make any sense, like,
it doesn't
internally.
make a lot of sense.
Because first of all, there's Tommyknockers knocking at the door, but then there's the Tommyknocker man?
Well, he owns them. He owns the Tommyknockers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There's a herd of Tommyknockers owned by the They're all knocking at the doors, and he's like, "Get back in the Tommyknocker van, you Tommyknockers! Quit knocking all those Tommies!" Also, not only does it not make internal sense, Jason, but it has nothing to do with what the things are in the movie. They're not out at night. They're not knocking on the door. I always imagined it was a bunch of little things like critters that were like banging on the sides of your house and smashing on the walls. I thought they were trying to get into people's houses.
And
that's not even a little bit what happened.
They do come knocking on that car, even though it's rocking, with Tracy Lords and the mailman or whatever he is.
Did they knock on it though?
Well, they knock the car around.
Oh, okay, sure.
I was just trying to make a dumb joke, Jim.
Wait, try it again.
They did come knocking on that car, even though it was rocking.
Ooh!
Hell to the King is a special presentation of the Cinesthesia podcast, produced by Iguana Donald Studios, and distributed by Split Tooth Media. Music by Loyalty Freak. Hell to the King is recorded without the consent of all parties involved. The transgression is part of the turn on.
Tracy Lords plays.
Yes. Okay. No, that's true.